And then live on Facebook.
And then make me a co-host so I can help.
Oh yeah. How do I do that again?
Just hover over where it says more, over to the right-hand side of my name. Click on that.
Make co-host. Okay, great. Let me get this. Okay. I'm almost there. Wait 1 second with the streaming. I think it's working. Okay, yeah, now it's working. So everyone just forgive me, I'm a little bit slow with these things. Okay, so I'm gonna get started now. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. I feel really grateful to be doing this service for Karnam. Karnam was super dear to me and like a father to me. So I feel really grateful to, you know, be doing this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have like a photo slideshow, and then a few devotees are going to share some things. But first, I'm gonna just pass it over to Archana to say, well, actually, Archana, do you wanna do the slideshow first, or do you wanna speak first, or do you wanna do the slideshow first? Is that what you said? Sorry, you're.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, the slideshow. Go ahead and do the slideshow first.
Okay, could you let people in while I'm doing the slideshow? Because I'll be doing a screen share. Okay, let me make sure that everything is working. Okay. So, and then we'll do screen share. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And you're not seeing anything else. You're just seeing the slideshow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna start now. Okay. Let me know that you can hear this. Can you hear this?
muted, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, everyone. Yeah, it was really nice to see those pictures. Special thanks for Haridas for helping me navigate that. I'm not very good with these slideshows, and Haridas did a lot of picking out of the photos and just putting it together. So thanks, Haridas. So we're gonna get started with devotee sharing. So there are a few devotees who wanted to share. So we're just gonna start with Archana. Are you okay to share right now, Archana?
Yeah, I think so. I was
Okay.
thinking, wow, I shouldn't have played the slideshow in the beginning because that was very emotional, but I had to let people in on the waiting room. So that helped to kind of distract me from losing it, I guess. So it's a little something that I wrote. Condolences rush in like a geyser, then slows to a gentle stream, and then becomes a trickle. As announcements of my husband's passing become buried on Facebook, we move on into the current stream of life. A few of us continue to feel the reverberations of his absence, like a Tibetan gong signaling the end of the day from a mountaintop. Life is filled with milestones. Like learning to ride a bike, we celebrate until we have our first spill on rocky concrete, our bloody knees stain our ripped jeans, our victory tempered by the knowledge that our body is fragile, destructible, impermanent. If we are listening, our milestones will speak to us and prepare us for the final milestone called death. How we live our life will determine how we ourselves celebrate that moment of leaving the body we learned to ride a bike in. Karnam's final milestone started over 5 years ago when the ear, nose, and throat specialist called us during our everyday lunch to report the malignancy of Karnam's recent biopsy. At that moment, the illusion of normalcy and predictability of my life cracked like the dry chapati in my hand. I grabbed solace from Krishna's words to Arjuna on the battlefield. One who is not dependent on the normal course of activities is very dear to me. Karnamrita and I spent the last 32 years of our lives together. We had compatible natures, both Aquarius rising, mission-oriented with the desire to help others. This was the foundation of our relationship. We counseled couples together, presented spirituality and personal growth seminars together, helped to organize and facilitate couples and japa retreats. We hosted sadhus and had regular home programs over the years. We traveled to exotic places like the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa and Vrindavan, India. And last but not least, we raised and launched a beautiful devotional son together. Karnamrita loved to write. For many years, he journaled and had private conversations on white pages. And then he started to share his life journey, blogging on Krishna.com and later on Facebook. He valued and practiced authenticity and vulnerability, candidly speaking about his own shortcomings and challenges. He described his most daunting hurdle to be his spiritual mediocrity, a state of complacency and stuckness, he called it. He would pray every day for the inspiration and empowerment to move beyond this obstacle. His writing helped him to penetrate this bedrock of indifference and mediocrity and draw out his feelings and realizations to share with others. But still, he would find himself returning to his uncomfortable comfort zone. He felt that this was the real disease he battled with, and he saw his cancer as the answer to his prayers. The cancer was something he couldn't run or hide from. He became courageous. Many times in his healing video blogs, he made comments like, "Cancer is my best friend. Cancer is Krishna's loving embrace." His cancer intensified his process of surrender, and he was able to extract the ever-present lessons around him and see Krishna's hand like a conductor of the orchestra of his life. His cancer took him to Mexico and the West Coast. It took him to the holiest place, Vrindavan, India, for almost 2 years, and finally to Tucson, Arizona, where he finished the last chapter of his life. 2 days before he passed, he told me he hurt a rib and was in pain. The paramedics came and said his oxygen was very low. They transported him to the hospital. He continued to chronicle his healing journey in the ambulance, texting me and sending me short little videos of his trip. I saw his feet, the mountains out of the back of the vehicle, and a gurney being rolled into the ER. The next day, the doctors called me and said hospice would be transferring him to an inpatient unit. His body was shutting down, and the doctor told me he would leave the world within days. Karnamrita understood. His last text message to me read, "Hospice and the final lesson." The next day, he was comfortably situated in a very serene hospice room. The staff put an iPad in the room and connected me to FaceTime. We spent this last day together. I played his favorite kirtans all day, talked to him and prayed for him. In the late afternoon, he left his body. Devotees came from Tucson Temple and anointed him with Nrsinga oil, put a tulsi on his lips and chest, and sprinkled him with Ganga Jal. It was a quiet departure, hearing the holy name on FaceTime with me, technology at its best, helping a sadhaka depart from the world. My dear loving husband and companion, you have disappeared from my vision on the path. I am internally enriched by our time together. You will be very missed. Separation is followed by meaning, and very soon we will find each other in our eternal home. Thank you.
That was really beautiful. I'm just gonna have to like compose myself too. That was really beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. So, Padmanabha, would you like to share next?
My pranam to all of you. Shriman Karnamrita Prabhu ki jai. Srimati Archan Siddhi Dasi ki jai. So thank you very much for your invitation, for your presence here. Thank you very much, Archan Siddhi, for your heartfelt words. There's not too much to add after all that you have said, but in service to your words and to all of you, I may try to share some brief words in honor of Karnamrita Prabhu. In my personal case, I was not that fortunate to spend too much time with him in a quantitative way, but as the scriptures say, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Even if you spend some little nanosecond with a special sadhu, great personality, all perfection will come to that from that. So in my personal case, I think my association with Karnamrita Prabhu has not been a matter of quantity, but quality. And not because quality is on my side, but qualities was and is on his side, and I really feel very much blessed. So I may share some brief words regarding those brief, great and deep moments I had with him. So basically, what we are doing today here in his honor is what sometimes we call Tirobab Mahotsav, which is generally a celebration, if you will, even though there is some paradoxical emotions coming and going, a celebration of the glorious departure of a great soul, in this case, Karnamrita Prabhu. And according to our tradition, the disappearance day of a sadhu is even more celebrated than his or her appearance day. Why? Because sometimes our appearance in this world is, if you will, more a matter of karma, that makes us appear in a particular body in a particular situation. But when that soul has been blessed in a very special way by bhakti, by sadhu sangha, the disappearance of that personality is on another level, if you will. And that person, especially if he or she was blessed with bhakti in his her life, that disappearance will be really a great service and teaching to all of us. But again, of course, at the same time, we are expressing our pain when Mahaprabhu himself asked Ramananda Roy in their intimate conversation, what's the most greatest suffering in life? Ramananda Roy Ramananda answered, Krishna Bhakta Viraha Bina Dukkha Nahiyar, which means I do not know of any other misery apart from separation from the devotees. And of course, eventually Mahaprabhu said, what's the greatest joy? I do not know of any other greatest happiness of being together with the devotees. So it's very nicely Archan Siddhi said, the pain of separation is only there and the function of separation is only there to increase the joy of eventual union. So that's our hope and our greatest shelter, if we will. So for me, Karnamrita Prabhu, again, I've not been able to share that much time with him, but I was able to look, to observe his behavior and his situation, his special example and gift to me in the last period, in his Antelila, what we may call, where he was already diagnosed with cancer and he was overtly dealing with that in a very noble way, exemplary way. And of course, for me, that's a very important thing because, I mean, death, the concept of death, as we as Gaudias, of course, understand it, leaving the body, it's a very crucial element. And if we live our life, sometimes the quote is there, no? If you live your life as if death is not existing, you will die as if you have never lived, actually. And so for me, death put life in context. To be aware of that particular moment that will determine how we conduct ourselves on a daily basis. So, and we can speak about that so much, like I'm doing now. I'm speaking about that, and it's easy to say that from my chair here and from my comfort zone. But another thing is when you really have to face the challenge and you really open yourself to that. So I was able to witness that in Karnamrita Prabhu. And for me, this reminded me of all of our sacred narratives that over and over again emphasize this point. Bhagavad Gita begins with that, Arjuna being faced with death, and the problem that he had to battle with his family, close members, and so on. Parikshit Maharaj being cursed to die in 7 days. All our central shastras are revolving around this idea. Death is part of life, and you have to know how to deal with that. As Parikshit asked Sukadeva, what's the duty of someone who is about to die? Of course, all of us are about to die, as my Guru Maharaj will say. All of us have 7 days to live: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So how we act in that moment will really determine which will be our future. So I was really moved by seeing how Karnamrita Prabhu embraced his cancer, embraced the prospect of leaving soon from this world and this body in a very heroic way. At one point, I could compare him to the great Bhishma, another great hero in our tradition, who was lying on a bed of arrows So I would make some parallel of being in a bed of arrows with having cancer. I imagine it's something quite similar to that, because you're daily struggling with that. I was witnessing him when he was eating, and it was a whole struggle to have a spoonful of dal. But at the same time, trying to embrace all that pain, if you will, all that difficulty in the context of increasing my longing, my hunkering, my attachment to my sadhana, to my goal, to my sadhya, to my bhajan. So in the same way that Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, and he was just increasing his longing to see Krishna, and only then he was able to depart. I feel that Karnamrita Prabhu embraced his cancer in that exemplary way, just in a way that it increased his Krishna consciousness, basically getting him closer and closer to Sri Hari. So for me, he has been a very great example of not only how to live life, but how to live this body. We are to offer our life to Krishna in service. Our life should be an offering of love to Krishna in service, but our death should be also an offering in service. Our death should be a service to Krishna. We should die in seva, basically. And of course, if you do so, that speaks a lot about how you lived your life. And of course, that speaks about a lot about which will be your next destiny, which will be the prospect. So I feel very blessed about having the chance of sharing some words in connection to Karnamrita Prabhu. For me, hearing and to hear all of you speaking about him, actually to hear about great Vaishnavas like him, is even more nourishing to our bhakti than hearing about Bhagavan himself, strictly speaking. Why? Because we can relate to the lives of the devotees more easily than we can relate to the life of Bhagavan. The devotees underwent so many situations, even starting with birth and normal tribulations of human life. No, they did not simply appear like Bhagavan, endowed with all Aishwarya and majesty. They faced problems. They had to behave and struggle like sadhakas. On the other side, Bhagavan is omnipotent. He accomplishes everything by his mere will. So my point is, this teaches us a very, very deep lesson about how we should nourish ourselves, how we should learn from all the things that we are hearing about. So I think that for us as individuals and for us as community, for us as a Sangha in which Karnamrita Prabhu belong and extending Gaudiya family, to have an example like him is very necessary and very nourishing. And so we should see our own family and community grow and mature by taking advantage of the gift that Karnamrita Prabhu gave to us during his life and while living this body and obtaining, upgrading his life, if you will, in the words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, dying to live in more and more and more and more. So in this way, I pray for his mercy and to keep learning and growing together, hopefully, and following what my Guru Maharaj said recently, mentioning some words in his honor. We hope to catch up with him in the afterlife. Srimad Karnamrita Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur
Jai.
Pramanam Vanchakalpataru Vishnarupa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo. Thank you so much for the opportunity of sharing some brief words in an attempt of kirtan, of glories, chanting the glories of the Vaishnavas. And I'm sorry I won't be able to stay the whole meeting. I have some other meeting already arranged some days ago, but I'll hope to hear all your testimonies eventually. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Padmanabha Swami, for that. That was really beautiful. And I appreciate the perspective. And yeah, nice, really appreciate it. Ashram Maharaj, are you here? I know he was going to speak. I'm not seeing him.
Well, yes, I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Okay, good. Are you okay to share now?
Sure, if you
Okay,
like.
Jai.
Panchakalpatarubhyashta kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Since Padmanabha Maharaj has already shared philosophy with us, and Aradhana has set a 3 to 5 minute time limit, and I'm terrible with time limits. I will try to defer to her tyrannical nature and be brief. And so for me, this is a personal thing. And so I'm just going to share a few personal feelings.
If it's a little over, it's fine. I'm not that tyrannical.
No, we know you're terrible. You got that scimitar back there and you're going to decapitate us. So I think maybe following that example that Karnamrita set so wonderfully over the last so many years of authenticity and vulnerability, um, I think it's probably better for me to just to take a couple of minutes to share my personal response. I've known Karnamrita a long time. Um, we joined Mahaprabhu's movement about the same time, early 1970, and but we didn't get to know each other until 74, 73, 74, when he came to Hawaii with Sudama Maharaj. And we got to know each other a little bit, as much as we could, because we were both very busy with service. But over the last maybe 15, 16, 17 years, since we both began associating closely with Tripurari Maharaj, we got to know each other, and um, I'd like to think we became friends, although I would guess that probably anybody who spent even a few minutes with Karnamrita would go away with the same feeling. This guy's my friend. Um, but that really was our relationship. When he would come to Audarya, we would inevitably share a yurt during a festival. So we were, we spent some time really close then, and kind of caught up and got to really started getting to know each other. But especially after I took sannyas and traveled around the Sangha some and spent time in North Carolina, then we got closer and closer. And that was just Karnam's nature. He drew you in by his own vulnerability, by his own authenticity. He drew you in and drew you out. And so, I mean, I've discussed things with Karnam and Karnam and Archana as well, that other people, I hope, don't know about. But he was, I was just thinking yesterday, um, and I found it impossible to conceive of the person who would have met Karnamrita who didn't like him. This is one person about whom I could honestly say, and he's not the only one. Um, I have other friends like this that I could say the same thing about. I don't, I can't conceive of Karnam having an enemy or anybody who was even neutral. Um, he was warm, open, non-judgmental, um, and I don't know, just a really good friend. And we spent a lot more time together um, uh, when when Karnam and Archana moved to Western North Carolina, um, when we were no longer able to have our Bhagavad Gita programs at Hamsavatar and Yoga Mayas, Karnam and Archana opened their home to me on Wednesday evenings for those programs. And I'm really grateful for that. Kind of an introverted person, and as a sannyasi, I need service all the time. And it's my friends who arrange that for me because I'm not terribly outgoing. But Karnam and Archana did that. And when they bought that tiny house that has um, served as a base for so many devotees over the last couple of years, I asked Archana why they bought another house and installed it on their property. And she just looked at me and smiled and she said, so you'd have a place to stay when Hamsa and Yogamaya sell their house. So I haven't had the opportunity yet to stay there, but the gesture so deeply moved me that I didn't know how to respond. I probably made some really awkward joke in response, as is my way. But also, there was another thing that brought Karnam and me together, and that was our bi-weekly uh, trips to Asheville for Street Sankirtan, as Srila Prabhupada called it back in the old days, with the devotees there, Madhava and Krishna Das and all the other devotees in Asheville and around Asheville as well. And one of the kirtan was wonderful. The time we spent at Krishna Das's and Madhava's home was wonderful. But I think best of all was the 2 hours in the car with alone with Karnamrita, where we would just rip open our chests and pour our hearts out to each other. It was it was I don't know. It was the best part of those weeks, except maybe for the Bhagavad Gita class. But it was just so wonderful. And then when the cold weather would come again, and and the some kirtan became impractical during the winter, um, then I would look forward again to the spring when we could uh, Karnam. I'd drive over to Karnam's and we'd hop in his car and head out on the highway, looking for adventure and sharing our hearts with each other. Um, Karnam was a friend. I know that our spiritual aspirations are uh, uh, very close to each other. And I have some hope that someday I'll bump into one of the other guys, and he'll look over at me and he'll say, "Oh, there you are, bro," and I'll know that as Tripurari Maharaj said the other day, that I finally caught up with him. And I'm grateful to all the devotees. I'm grateful to Aradhana and Arjuna, all the devotees for organizing this. And I'm going to be happy and sad to hear what the other devotees have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Asha Maharaj. Nitai Garanga and Prema, are you okay to share?
Yeah. Hare Krishna. So nice to see everyone. I wrote a little something and I tried to write this from my heart and not worry about too much else, because following in Karnam's footsteps, some of his poetry and things like that is very much, it was nice to watch him evolve in his sharing and in his caring. So a beautiful soul sharing life's journey, pleading for me to see the truth, waiting for me to wanting me to find happiness, blessing me to feel love, an angel who sought angels, sometimes like a renunciate, but always a collector of books. He was passionate about growth and driven to connect with you and with me. He was at ease, he was genuine, and arguably, he was funny. Karnam was so capable as a father, as a friend, as a mentor, as a teacher, as a student, and as a well-wisher. He loved us all. For him, love was not simply the answer, love was the formula itself. And he was so loved. When Karnam was admitted to the hospital, the prayer that kept coming to my mind was to his teacher, Srila Prabhupada, please be with him, please guide him, please keep him safe. And every time the overwhelming feeling would come back to me, yes, yes, yes. Throughout his ordeal, Karnam stayed true to himself and to all of us. The final text he received from me hours before his passing was an attractive picture of Krishna I happened upon that evening. He texted back one last time, okay emoji. Yes, he is the one, exclamation point. I just want to share real quick. I don't know if this will be so translatable.
Yeah.
My father will be greatly missed. But later that day, later that night, I was watching some videos of Srila Prabhupada, and I became overwhelmed at one point with emotion, and it was not sadness, and it was purely an appreciation for Srila Prabhupada. And in that moment, as I was overcome with emotion, I really felt like Karnamrita is connected with Srila Prabhupada. He's he, he's very strongly connected with Srila Prabhupada, and I was very grateful to have that experience. So thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you. Oh, yeah, Prima. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll see how this goes. Please accept my obeisances, everybody. All glories to my dear. Oh my gosh. Okay. All glories to my dear father-in-law, Karnamji. All glories to the Vaishnavas. One of the most inspiring things to me about Karnam is that later in his life, but prior to his cancer diagnosis, long prior, he, and after many years of being a devotee, he realized that he needed to do some personal growth work, and he truly went for it. He truly did it. And he spoke to me about that a lot. And I feel so grateful to have had that example of his from a young age, that you can better yourself at any age. You can deepen your devotional practice and personal growth work, and strengthening your faith and strengthening your sadhana go hand in hand. And it's especially inspiring to hear this from a man, as this can be much more difficult for men. And I feel the most grateful, of course, for Karnam for raising, my husband with such an amazing role model. Karnam was so deep and steady, so encouraging and loving. And another of my favorite qualities of Karnam is not only his sense of humor, but his commitment to making jokes that made him laugh. He truly did not have a problem if you didn't find it as funny. The jokes were for him. And I really respect that commitment. We will feel Karnam's impact on our lives for the rest of our lives. thank you all so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I didn't plan to say anything, but I'll just say something kind of quickly. Just so I kind of don't really know where to start. I guess just yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I can't. Yeah, I just feel really grateful for kind of like through. So I started going to Christian Road Temple when I was like 14, and Karnam and Archana were very warm to me and really, you know, brought me in a way. So along with so many other devotees, but I just really appreciate both of their, you know, warmth and vulnerability and care towards me. And I just feel just so grateful to have had so much time with Karnam. And, you know, I think, you know, to, you know, have such a close relationship with, you know, like a kind of like, again, like I didn't like grow up like Prema and Nitai Guranga did, but spending some years with him, just being able to have that kind of relationship. And it was, you know, everything to, you know, helping me chant japa and deity worship to, you know, it's one of my favorite things that he would always remind me of was that, like, you know, it's just so special that for us who are younger, that we have like devotees who are older and have been practicing for 30 or 40 years, because when they were becoming devotees, they didn't really have that. So he was always reminding me of that, and to look at, when looking at my practice, to remember that, you know, it's like this is something that you're doing for your life, and you need to take this seriously, but then also be practical about, you know, he would always say the long haul. And every time he would say the long haul, after I had heard it so many times, and I was like, I know, but it's just like, it's so important. And I still feel that way, but it was just, I felt kind of grateful to kind of have that, like, okay, I know, but to just like, for him to always be telling me. And I just pray that I always remember that. But yeah, to have that, you know, really deep spiritual guidance, but then also just like, I think one of my favorite memories is when I got my wisdom teeth out. I thought I was going to like be okay, like doing stuff on my own. And I remember I called Archana like after I had gotten back, and I was like so drugged up, and I was like, hey, and I couldn't even like, you know, I could barely like speak. And Archana was like, you should just come here, we'll take care of you. And Karnam showed up like pretty shortly, and they were just so, you know, so kind to me. And just like, yeah, I mean, I've spent a good bit of time with them, but I just feel so grateful for their examples, as just being able to stay with them, you know, seeing how they do their sadhana, and, you know, listening to like not a lifetime's worth, but, you know, so many of Karnam's jokes. And then, you know, kind of I really appreciated Prema's point, like the jokes were definitely for him too. And we would joke around together. But anyway, I just feel really, really grateful for him and everything that he has shared with me. Yeah, and all that he shared with us. So thanks for letting me have a few minutes. So yeah, Sumati, would you like to go next? Do you need some help, Sumati, unmuting?
I think
Yeah,
I got it.
You got it.
It's just so wonderful to see so many devotees here at Karnam's Memorial, and devotees from different areas of his life. And, you know, he was so dear to so many of us. And he was such a dear friend to me for so many years. And even though I was older than him, he always treated me like his younger sister, a little sister, and he was always teasing me as well as teaching me. And yeah, we laughed a lot. I want to read something that I started writing just a few hours after his passing. I saw a host of cloud angels this morning, Was it a sign that my dear friend and brother would be leaving this realm today? He loved clouds and he loved angels, and just outside his window they danced quickly through the sky as if to say goodbye. Karnam loved life in her multitude of forms, and he loved the Lord, whom he saw in all of life. He was a Saragrahi, the seeker of the essence, the reality, the truth. He honored all people and their faiths, and holding deep within his heart the desire to help others on their journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. He wrote and he spoke to this end. As he titled his book, Give to Live, he exemplified this beautiful quality and precept. He saw the good in everyone, encouraging them with compassion, hope, and humor. As a lover of the Lord, he faithfully and devotedly worshiped his deities every day. And when blessed with living in holy Vrindavandam, he was able every day to decorate his Karnamrita with unlimited flowers, which filled him with joy. He was like a little boy. He was so excited that the flower vendor was coming, and he would just get buckets and buckets of flowers, and then I don't know how long it took him to decorate his deities, and then he would send pictures. And he was a warrior till the end, striving to live, to preach and share, trying everything in reach to stay alive. But when he realized he would not survive, he turned to Krishna and quickly left his mortal frame, appearing to have died. There was a priest at the hospice center who attended to him at the end, anointing him with holy water. And he turned and said, I can tell he is a man of God. So the priest came before we didn't know if the devotees were going to be able to get there in time. So the priest that was there, I wish I had recorded it, but he said such beautiful prayers to Karnam, and then sprinkled him with the holy water. So I'm just going to miss him a lot, as I know everyone on this call will as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumati. So Mahara and Mitra are next. Just to give some context, so with their internet, they can show their video, but they'll be using their phone to do the audio. So if you have a speaker view on, it may be a little messy. So maybe switch to grid view. Are you guys?
Look for, are we in?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, look for where I'm waving and click on that. I like that one. Gallery. Or unless you're able to take that.
I don't know. Something that you all could do is you could pin the video while they're speaking, and then will still, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to put on gallery view because I want to see everybody. Everybody wave. Hey. So I met Karnam back in 1978. We were in Berkeley together, and I thought, well, this is a nice person. I'd like to spend more time with someone like this. And then 12 years later, we moved to Baltimore, and we were all there together. And some people that you meet, the more you're with them, you start thinking like, well, I don't know, these people are okay, but they're not that great. But Karnam, and he just seemed to improve the more I got to know him. And then we were together on Krishna Road, and for a while we would meet every night to read a chapter of Bhagavad Gita together. And then I saw, this guy's really into the Bhagavad Gita. He had his copy, he gave me his copy. He had a dozen copies that were all highlighted and underlined with notes in the margin. And he said, here, you take this one, because I'm going to start a fresh one. And so we'd read a chapter and we'd discuss it, and he knew all the commentaries from all the other Bhagavad Gita commentaries from everybody else. And he knew everything about Prabhupada's commentaries, and Then once a week, we'd go to Amy and Sammy's house down in Winston. It was a 1-hour drive, and we'd read a chapter there with that group. And on the way down, we would discuss what important points we want to bring up from this chapter. So we discussed the chapter on the way down, then we'd have the talk there. And then on the drive back, we'd talk about, man, that chapter was really awesome. And we bring up all the points that came up. So like we discussed the Bhagavad Gita 3 times that day, one chapter. And he always had more to say. Okay, and then I noticed what Nitai Gauranga said. He was always a renunciate, but a collector of books. So while he was in India, I got to stay in his room here. While I was building this house, I stayed in his room, and it's full of books, all kinds of self-improvement books, like what Prema was saying. And they're all underlined and highlighted and notes in the margin. And he read like every single one of them. He's like always on it. And then one of the last conversations we had when he was here, we talked about, is it possible to have a happy ending? I mean, everybody's life has to end. Can we have a happy ending? And so we talked about that. And he said, well, if you live your life right, you'll have a happy ending. So with that, I'll pass it on to Mahara. Let's see how she's going to surprise us, what she's got to say.
Well, I'm not a very good speaker, but I just wanted to say that whenever, I would ask Karnam to do any kind of service, he would never say no. He would say yes to everything. And it was pretty shocking to me how he would just never say no. He was like, I thought that was a really good quality. And when he would worship his deities, he was really devotional, and he would always, and then he would say to me, and I'm also including your deities in my worship. And I thought that was really charming, and, it overwhelmed me. And then when I first met him, it was in Baltimore, when Mukunda was little. We did a school there, and we didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the temple, and I remember walking in, and he was the first one and the only one that came up and started talking to me, and I was really touched by that. I thought that was so nice of him to take the time out to come and introduce himself, and then him and Archana would invite us for prasadam once a week at their apartment. And I thought that was so nice because no one had ever done that before. And then let's see, also whenever I would go up to their house, whether it was in Baltimore or in Sandy Ridge, Prabhupada Village, he would always, like if I was going to see Archana and she was busy, he would take the time out, and I would sit there and he would talk to me as if he had nothing else to do. And he would just sit there and just keep talking, and whatever we wanted to talk about, he would talk about. And he would never, I was just like, that was so surprising to me. And Archana was like that too. Like they had nothing better to do but just to spend time with you. And that was such a nice, he had so many good examples for me to learn from. And another thing that he always liked was the desserts that we served out. That was his favorite thing. And, that always made me feel good because I could go around, and I like to bake a lot. So I would give him sweets, and then he would say, more, because he loved sweets. He loved prasadam, but he really liked sweets. So that was something that I remembered about Karnam. And then also one last thing is that Archana was very popular, and to me she was like the queen and famous, and everybody was asking for her attention. And Karnam was more humble and just a servant, and he never had an attitude about it. Like most guys wouldn't tolerate that, but he was very humble and kind. And I mean, like he would clean the house and do things to help serve her so she could take care of other people. And I always thought that was really, you know, that meant a lot to me that he was so humble like that. So I guess that's all I wanted to say, but it's hard to believe that he's gone. I feel like he's still here, and I'm going to go over to their house and he's going to greet me and talk to me some more. But anyway, yeah, he's going to be missed a lot. But thank you. It was nice to see everyone.
Driver, UPS driver.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, I know. I have her next. Already, yeah. So Angie, are you able to unmute? I haven't met you, but I've heard great things about you.
She's our UPS lady.
Okay, let me see if I can unmute her. I think I just asked to unmute her.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Angie.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me join you. Everything is said, everybody says such beautiful things about Chris. I really didn't know him that well. Just briefly, we had little encounters when I would deliver packages, which was quite often because they get a lot of packages. And but every time I went, like, I mean, the first time, maybe second time, he gave me a big hug. He always made me feel so welcome and he accepting, and I could just tell, you know, he was just the kind of guy that would be a good friend. And I felt like he was my friend, even though I just, you know, saw him here and there. And you know, I always looked forward to seeing his smile whenever I came because he always had the biggest smile. He always ran out to get his package to speak. He got in trouble for leaving the door open when it was cold sometimes. He got fussed at, but but I so enjoyed him coming out and looked forward to every time I saw that address, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get to see Chris maybe today. And then if I didn't get to see him that day, I thought, well, next time I'll see him and, you know, he'll have a big smile. And when he left to go get treatment, I missed him a lot. And I asked about him and was worried about him and was hoping the best for him. And now every time I drive by, I just think of that big smile. And I mean, I'll remember him as long as I go by that house. I'll remember, you know, what a good soul he was and the connection that I had with him and how special he made me feel. So thank you for including me, and just everybody know that I will miss him.
Thank you so much, Angie. I feel so grateful that Mahara connected with you and was like, Angie, what? Angie's gonna come and maybe she'll say something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure I've seen you when I was there, maybe like briefly. I don't think that we ever talked, but anyway, thank you so much for being here. It's really special.
Thank you for including me.
Yeah, sure. So Krishna Priya. Let's see if she's on and if she needs help. I think that this is Krishna Priya.
I'm here.
Okay, good. How are you, Paul?
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatarash Panchakalpa Trubas Jaki Basindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. So I am feeling very honored that I received an invitation, and very honored that I was given this opportunity to speak and to be in the presence of all the devotees that had so much association with Karnamrita and so much love. I first met him many years ago when he was bringing his son to North Carolina, Nitai Garanga, to go to school. And in those days, I was doing full-time deity worship and had a shaved head. And some people treated me like I was on top of an ivory tower, but not Karnamrita. So the first time he met me, he was just like, hey, you know, like you said, authentic, and, you know, let's take off the mask and let's be friends. And so I immediately felt like such warmth and exception and kindness from him and from Archana. And then to fast forward, they were both involved in doing the japa retreats. And just one day, I still remember they came walking up the stairs at the temple at Nugaloka, and I was coming down, and they both looked at me and they said, "We're going to sponsor you." It was this retreat up in Menla, up in the Catskills, and I really wanted to go. And then they both said, "We're just going to sponsor you to go." And I was thinking, oh my gosh, they really care about me. They care about my spiritual life, and they want me to be absorbed in the holy name. So I went, and of course, Karnamrita made fun of me the whole time, like whenever he would see me. And it was just so fun because everybody would be so serious around me, but it wasn't like that with him. So his birthday is just a couple of weeks after my birthday. And we just established this relationship, which is like so deep within my heart that he was my brother. So whenever I wrote him, I was like, "Hey, brother." And he's like, "Hey, sis." And this went on, while he was going through his treatments and on Facebook. And so for me, Karnamrita was the brother in this lifetime that I didn't have. And he was the one person that could always make me laugh and always be warm and always make so much fun of me, like completely make fun of me, which, and people would be like shocked because he'd make so much fun of me all the time. And it was just so beautiful. I think Sumati had that same experience, that he made fun of her all the time, both of us, So he was my brother. I think, but Sumati was he was the older brother for her. For me, he was the younger brother, I had decided. He was the younger brother that was like a rascal. And the other connection I really felt with him was, and with Archana both, because for me, it's like Arch and Karnamrita, they're just like, together. That's how I relate. And they're still together to me, So the other thing that really impressed me was one time I was staying up when they lived in Sandy Ridge, Prabhupada Village. And every day I would go over to the house and he would be taking care of the beautiful deities. And they had this most beautiful altar and these gorgeous Radha Krishna deities. And he was just so meticulous how he was taking care of the deities and how he was serving them. And we talked a lot about Pujari burnout and his days when he used to do everything. And so I really felt connected to him in that way, also through deity worship. And then when he started going through this journey and he started coming more out of himself and preaching, he came to the temple and he gave a class on preparing for leaving the body. And Ananda Gopal and Vishaka, they arranged for him to give also a program in Chapel Hill. So he was coming out more and he was speaking. And then we had a wedding at the temple, Ananda Gopal and Vishaka, and him and Archana, they came and they oversaw the whole thing. And I really related with Archana and Karnamrita both, because anyone who knows me knows I'm always trying to bring people together. And I'm always trying to bring sanghas together. So when everybody comes together, I feel very happy and very ecstatic. And so I also shared that with Karnamrita. I would speak with him about that, my need for devotees to come together. And as everyone has said before, I really appreciated his vulnerability, his integrity, his willing to take off the masks, so to speak. He communicated so much about his journey. The last time I actually had his association was before he went to Brindavan, and Gaurangi Priya hosted a program at her house for him. And he spoke and we all chanted together, and he continued to make fun even then. And so then I just followed his journey when he was in in Vrindavan, always listening to the blogs and writing back to him on Facebook back, and he would comment something. And Karnamrita, he allowed you to love him. And most people carry a wall, you know. He allowed you to love him and to express that love and to help you to come closer to Krishna. So I very much appreciated his journey in Vrindavan. I was always worried about him because I was like an older sister that was worried because it was such an intense treatment. But at the same time, I saw how he just became transformed by the dust of Braj, you know, because the dust of Braj will purify anyone. So I felt like he got brought to Vrindavan, you know, to be able to come so much closer with his worshipful Istadev, you know. And so that was the special mercy of Braj Dham. And, you know, then as we all know the rest of the story, he came back and I always had this desire that he was going to come back to North Carolina and I was going to get to come and see him and to render some seva. But, you know, Krishna had a different plan. So what they say, a reason's ill who say that Vaishnavas died, they're living in sound. So we're very fortunate because Karnamrita Prabhu was a prolific writer. And so often when someone is directly in our presence, their greatness is not always understood or realized. But he has left many words of wisdom and he's chronicled many things. So his greatness, his deepness, his love will continue to grow in the hearts, not only those that knew him, but those who came after him. And I would really like to thank him from the core of my heart to help me overcome fear and the fear of death. And, you know, to prepare myself as he prepared himself. So I don't want to take any more time. And like I said, I want to offer my condolences to all the Vaishnavas here, all of his family, his friends, everyone that's had so much close association. And I'm the hidden sister that came out of the closet. So I thank all of you so much for just really giving me the opportunity to come on this Zoom and to be with all of you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Krishna Priya. It's been a little bit since I've seen you, and it's just very sweet to see you and very sweet to hear you speak. So next is, oops, I accidentally clicked on something, is Badarayana.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
So thank you for allowing me to speak for just a few moments. Karnamrita and I and my wife and son, we go way back. It's the mid 80s. And our son was, Narayan was going to the Gurukul there in Baltimore. And we had journeyed, we were kind of up in the air where to send our son at that time. Won't go into the history of that. But push comes to shove, we decided to come to Baltimore. We made many trips. And during those trips where we were deciding whether we were going to send our son, Archana and Karnam were there. And Narayan was there, now Nyataigaranga. I love that name, by the way. And it was so nice speaking to you, Nyataigaranga, just after Karnam passed. That was very nourishing for me, so thank you. But what happened was that Karnam and Archana opened their house to us for 2 years, every weekend, except for when the school was off. Rukmini and I would drive to visit the Gurukul, and we would stay at Karnam and Archana's house. It was such a really miraculous experience that these wonderful devotees opened themselves to us. And they not only opened their house, but they opened their hearts and allowed us to be there. And because we'd stay there every weekend for almost 2 years, we became very, very, it was a very deep relationship. And we began to have holidays together, Christmases and Thanksgivings, and sharing gifts and talking about all the depths of personal growth, Krishna consciousness. our trials and tribulations. So many things have been said about Karnam over these many wonderful devotees that have spoken. And what really strikes me is when I think of the word pure devotee, everything that's been spoken about Karnam, it brings to me the realization that this was a pure soul. This was a pure devotee of the Lord. He cared not so much for himself. He cared only for himself in terms of setting this amazing example of personal growth. He actually set the standard. Generally, ISKCON in the early days and even carried into some of the later days was about outreach and going out and preaching and distributing books. Karnam's journey was, although it was about that, but it was born from this inner journey, living from the inside out. And he really set the standard, set a whole new paradigm of living from the inside out, this whole deep seeking of what are the things that are holding him back in the past and the present? What are his anarthas? And when I think of all these things and the way he was so kind and so giving and so loving to everyone, so dedicated to his deity, so dedicated to his wife, so dedicated to everyone that came in contact with him, this was a pure devotee. We had a pure devotee in our midst, and I have no doubt that this amazing soul, Karnamrita, Srila Prabhupada came to him at the time of leaving, took his hand and put it in Krishna's hand back in the Goloka, Vrindavan realm. I have no doubt about that. Because of his deep dedication and kindness, always caring and giving to others, and always caring about his spiritual sadhana and acumen. We would have a lot of fun together. We would joke. I love these comments about his jokes being for himself. His humor was very, very cute, charming, and unassuming, as was his personality. And I just feel amazingly blessed for my wife and my son and myself to have had some association with this great soul. And I think just to end up here, because I know other devotees want to speak who have to go, but Srila Prabhupada has time and time again spoken in the Bhagavatam purports that the test of a great soul, of a very advanced soul, is how they deal with reversals in life. And the greatest reversal in life is what Karnam experienced, the cancer diagnosis. And he had the profound and sublime realization that, as he said, that cancer is my friend. And just that example, if we could imbibe, if I could just imbibe that example, that whatever intense challenge, obstacle, or tribulation Krishna presents to me or to others, that becomes our greatest friend, because it is coming from Krishna to teach us to become detached, to become more dependent upon him. And Karnam exemplified that, fully dependent on the sweet little Lord, and at the end, giving everything up so he could be with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada. So I want to end there. Just thank Karnam for his example, living from the inside out, setting a new paradigm. And I just pray that he is looking down upon us, looking down upon me, and blessing me with just a fraction of what he had. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you so much for sharing. I don't think we've met, but I feel so grateful and I know that there are other devotees that I haven't met, and it's just really, really sweet to hear the different sides at different time periods. So next is it Gosta Bihari? Let me see if I can help them unmute if they need help. Maybe they had to go. Sorry, I'm just having to, let me scroll down and see if they're still here. Haribo. Oh, sounds very good.
You're not going to be able to have him speak. Radhana, the connection's not, it's too poor.
So bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. We can't, it's just very distorted and loud. I mean, we don't hear you. So Radhana, you wanna unmute yourself and
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was unmuted that whole time. So yeah, I don't think that we could, yeah, with the connection. I guess we'll just kind of move on. Karuna Ishvari, are you here?
Hare
yes, she's
Krishna.
here.
Jai.
Jai, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jai, Hare Krishna. I'm very honored and grateful to be here. And first, I want to offer my condolences to Archana. Yeah, I think most of you wouldn't know me. I live in Ireland, but I've known Karnamrita for about 10 years roughly. It's hard to remember exactly when the connection started, but through a couple of his god brothers, god sisters, and through Archana as well, I heard about his writing. And I remember one time his god sister, Mother Narayani, she was visiting Ireland. She used to come every year. And one time we were talking to her about how busy her schedule was, but she still found time to do some things like go on Facebook. And one of my friends said to her, "You're so busy. How do you ever find time to go on Facebook?" And she said, "I only go on for one thing. I just go on to read Karnamrita Prabhu's writings, and then I go off again." And she said, "And I save them, I copy and I paste them, and I put them in a folder specially just for all of his writings, and I keep them." And when she said that, then I decided that I was going to start reading them regularly as well. And then gradually, just here and there, I would comment on different things he'd written, and sometimes then I would ask questions. So then we started a bit of a connection of questions and answers. But the thing that struck me most, like straight away, was I realized that he was like the happiest, one of the happiest, I'd say the happiest, most balanced devotee that I'd met. Like I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for about 20 years. And what really struck me about him was that he was balanced and down to earth, completely like non-fanatical, broad-minded. And I thought, well, I want to be that kind of a devotee, because he was just out of the mold, and he was just such a role model. So I thought it gave me some hope that, by practicing Krishna consciousness, you can really be like a full person, not blinkered or narrow-minded. And I remember one time I was sitting upstairs with my laptop at lunchtime, and I was on Facebook, and then he just sent me a little message, and he said something about, isn't it great that we have this sort of technology where we can connect with people on the other side of the world, and we can have these spiritual friendships with people we'd never know otherwise. And at the end of the exchange, he wrote "cyber hug," And I remember thinking, this is the first devotee I've met where I felt that they weren't afraid to be themselves and express sort of real relationships and be affectionate. He was like a spiritual father. So it taught me a lot. And then I asked a lot of questions over the years, and I always felt that the answers I got were so honest and real and like genuinely helpful, like really speaking to a real person. They were never pat answers or, just pure philosophy. They were always realized practical answers and very honest. So then when he went to Vrindavan and he was doing his healing blogs for myself and my sister also, my sister's also a devotee and she lives in this community just up the road as well. We were watching those healing blogs regularly. And we were glued to them because there was just so much extra information coming through that we both felt we didn't get when we heard devotees speak generally, just how to apply yourself to the process and how to, as someone else said earlier, how to stay in Krishna consciousness for the long haul. And Karnamrita had mentioned that several times, like how to be a devotee for the long haul. And in the beginning, I never really knew what he meant by that. But, now 10 years later, I think I know more, all the different changes we go through and how Krishna consciousness becomes a different thing for us at different stages. And so what I got the most out of from his talks and his writings was how to apply this in our lives and how to stay with it as we change and as we face different circumstances. And then just under a year ago, I think it was May last year, in one exchange we had over WhatsApp, that's when he told me that he didn't think he would recover, that he felt it was downhill from then on. So at that stage, I started taking advantage of the time to ask as many questions as I could. There was things he would have talked about over the years and hinted at things, and I felt I partially grasped some things, but I didn't fully get them, and I wanted to know more. So I took advantage of that, and he spoke some voice messages, which I still have, and I treasure those. But there's still some things unanswered, and I'm hoping to get the chance to maybe ask Archana if she doesn't mind at some point in the future. And yeah, the last thing I really want to say is that so 10 years ago, around that time when I first came in contact with Karnamrita, I was really looking for a particular thing in my Krishna consciousness, but I didn't even know what it was. So I think it was like an unspoken prayer to have that kind of direction and guidance that came from his writings on that inner journey and personal growth work. But I hadn't really formulated it. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I really needed something. I'd come to that point where I had to go deeper within my Krishna consciousness and find a way forward. And then I came across his early writings about his childhood and the troubled background he'd come from and the whole personal growth journey. And it was just at that time exactly the very thing I needed. And I've often just thought that Krishna was so kind that he sent just the right devotee at the right time, because I hadn't come across that type of speaking and writing among any other devotees in Krishna consciousness, and really still haven't. It's quite unique and rare. So I've often thought, I actually don't know how I would have gone forward at that time without, it was like tailor-made, very specific. So I felt really grateful for that. And actually just around that time last year, when Karnamrita mentioned that he didn't think he'd recover, I told him that those writings about his childhood and recovering from all of that had been so helpful. And I also said that when I thought, because it was 10-year kind of relationship, I said I felt that he was probably, if I had to single out the devotee who'd helped me the most in those 10 years, it would be him. And he was completely blown away by that. And he said it was just, for him to hear something like that was completely amazing and helped him to feel that he'd made some progress along the path he wanted to tread, which was being of some help to other devotees. So I was very thankful that I got the chance to say that. So yeah, for both myself and my sister as well, I think he was like our main Shiksha guru, although he would never take that role. And one time I asked him, could I accept you as my Shiksha guru? But he was very humbled and he said, I'm not qualified, and shastrically I wouldn't be up to that, but I can be your friend and guide. So we will miss him a lot. And there's another devotee I just want to mention. Her name is Anuradha. She lives in Wales, and she also had a similar kind of connection. I've been in touch with her a lot this week. She's also been really grieving and mourning, and she wanted to come on today. She may be on, but she wasn't sure. So I just wanted to mention her. So we're in touch now, and we feel very glad to have the connection. Karnamrita's introduced us. So thank you very much. And yeah, life definitely won't be the same again. It's a big loss, but I'm grateful for the contact that I had. And grateful also for Archana City Prabhu as well, because I don't have as much contact with you, but through Karnam, I feel I know a lot about you. It's very inspiring. So I hope to stay in touch. Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you so much. So we have a few more devotees, and just a reminder, just the 3 to 5 minutes. But again, it's not like, yeah, it's not like definite, if you know what I mean. So Shamlal, are you able to speak?
Hare Krishna, can you hear?
Yes, Haribo, it's great to see you all.
Okay,
Krishna,
good.
everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna. Archana.
Yeah.
I'm more used to communicating in silence, particularly because previously I was a mime, theater artist, and a tap dancer. And I only mention that because there's just a short blurb that I want to read that he responded to me in an email. We started emailing each other when he went to India, and we exchanged a few emails at that point. Well, I'll start out by saying, and I thought I was special. It is so wonderful to hear all of you talk about Karnam so lovingly and so soulfully. And I'm also one of those who feel the same way that you do. He was a very special person, and he treated us all with that Krishna consciousness that he so much embodied. I am going to keep this short. I wrote a very short statement. If I can get my voice to behave here.
It's okay, take your time.
So what I'm saying is also repetitious in the sense that he joked with us. He joked with all of us. My relationship with Karnamrita was very special. At its core was an attitude of play. Play was firmly established as a foundation for our process of communication, as we've all shared with each other. Not only was play a way of grounding each other and having fun doing it, it was a gateway, so to speak, into the flow of words that hosted meanings we mutually understood and discussed it as it related to Krishna. Our conversations always revolved around Krishna. Our ridiculous repartee and nonsense actually made sense to us and was spiritually energizing. Our ridiculous game of one-upmanship made us smile and laugh at the absurdities of material life. And it helped kick off a discussion of things related to Krishna. We were like two adolescent boys trying to be more goofy than the other, with spiritual ideas as our play swords, jabbing away at each other with humor. This rasa that we shared was refreshing, and many times eased my discomfort at what I often saw as my lack of knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Karnamrita was consistently present and available. He drew me in and was always ready to help me understand Krishna and the devotion we all aspire to. And let me say one other thing here before I read a couple of snippets of the email. Karnamrita was never resigned to his condition. He acknowledged it, but he was never resigned. And I know something about that because I also have cancer and I also have what's called partial complex seizure. So I've got a couple of big deals to deal with. But the reason I'm saying that is because we helped each other. He supported me very much. He understood what I was going through also. And I deeply appreciate what he went through. And I respect so much the courage that he exhibited over these last years. So here's a couple of snippets. As I mentioned, I'm a tap dancer. At one point, I suggested that I was, he was so clumsy that I'd have to teach him how to move and all that stuff, so. And here's what one of the emails he wrote back. He said, "Yo, tippy toppy soupy sales dude, what's up? Yes, I would be happy to teach you my unique and sophisticated moves. Surely that would revamp your tapping career and you would become a world sensation. Yeah, I know it may be lamentable, possibly shameable or shameable, and certainly blamable, but it works and is fun sometimes. But it is still work, and my twice daily routine is challenging in many ways. I still have a long way to go in my healing." And here's a very short one coming next, back in June. That was in January of 20, and this came to me in June of 20. "I guess my last email just stunned you, surprised you, mystified you, or did you become love struck or ecstatic struck or muck stuck at my deeply moving expressions? I promise to not be so whatever I was, only less of it, more or less. In any case, I hope you are recovering from the profundity of my elegantly sophisticated, detailed exegesis. I am still breathing and sighing and perhaps flying on July 14th to Never Ever Land. You are bright in smashed armor, man from cad, glad from mad. I will miss my dear and often outrageous playmate and the gift of his humor. And I hope to play with you, Karnam, in the spiritual world. Namaste, everybody. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna."
I would like to say something very, very briefly, and I'll make this very brief, but I have an indelible image of my husband and Karnamrita playing, and their play was often outrageous. In fact, at times it would seem that Karnamrita had studied contact improvisation, and he had been a student of theater and had gone through improvisation classes in theater games. There was one time in our Krishna Road temple where my husband, at one time, Archon and I, we would often look over at each other and do a lot of eye rolling at the two of them. And there was a moment, it's just etched in my mind of, and I'll share it with you all because I would love for it to be etched in your minds too, of my husband scampering, crawling on all fours, and Karnamrita sitting, riding on his back, like horsey style, like two young boys playing. And it was absolutely precious to see these men. My husband was in his late 70s at the time, and Karnamrita, not too much younger, playing this play that they did. And it was just absolutely precious and beautiful and always made me laugh. And I know Archana too. And it was really special. Thank you. I won't take any more time. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much. Just don't feel like this is rushed when you all are speaking. I just don't want to feel like that. This is just such a, heartfelt time for us. And as someone who has seen Karnam and Shamlal engage in that play, it was just like, they just kind of like were in their own element and like their own like planet, and it was really special. And I know Archa and I were like, God, they really vibe. Like they just, yeah. Anyway, thank you for that. It's really sweet. So Leela Shakti. Let me see if she's here. I think, should I see her? Yeah.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah. Are you okay to go right now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to tend to something.
You're fine.
Hi. Jai, Vanchakopa Trubhascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai. Oh, this is so nice. Yes, I was listening to everybody, and there's so much to say because as people, the devotees are speaking, more things just keep coming up because Karnam was really, really deep. I found him to be an extremely deep person and also very multifaceted. And what actually happened with us to facilitate our relationship was he was actually blogging on Krishna.com, and at the time Krishna.com was a little like Facebook. Everybody, you had a profile, and then you had you could read blogs, and somehow there was even some kind of a chat feature. I don't remember now because it was 15 years ago or so or more. And so he was on there a lot blogging, and how myself and my husband found Krishna consciousness was just through books. I bought books on eBay because I was actually, kind of a bookworm type. So I was just always trying to read and read and read. So reading his blogs, when I first tried to start connecting what was in the books to real life, because we didn't live near devotees. We were way out in the country, and I had 2 small kids, and I didn't have access to a car all day. Really a hardship, but all I could do was just read books. And, so it was nice, but I really wanted to connect with devotees. So when I started to explore a little bit Krishna.com, his particular writing and blogging caught my eye because actually, like Prema was saying earlier, and some others I think have said, his humor was really a really attractive feature, and it was kind of irreverent because he was a little bit of a rascal, actually. He was a little bit of a rascal. So it was I don't know, it was just something really you wanted to grab in. And so then I remember one time he and Archana I think they were doing it seemed like it was a questions and answers, like a reading group or something. And, I was just like, oh my God, should I get on this reading group? I don't know if what am I going to say? I was just like a nervous wreck. And he and Archana were on the reading group. And I had a lot of questions because it's the first time I was talking to real devotees ever, after 4 years of reading. So I was asking a question in the phone, and, they answered it, really solid. And I was just thrilled to start, kind of a dialogue with devotees. Little did I know the exalted nature of these 2 particular devotees. I had no idea. So I was extremely fortunate in that respect to have somehow or other, I don't know what caused that good fortune, but somehow or other I was able to start associating with Karnamrita. And then he, also had me speaking a lot with Archana City Mata, and it was really nice. And then at some point, Krishna made an arrangement where we could move from our 108-year-old farmhouse in Maryland down with some devotees somewhere, and we were sort of free. So somehow or other, I was attracted to check out Prabhupada Village because that's where my friends Archana City and Karnamrita had advised to come to North Carolina. And that was funny because that happened right after my husband lost his longtime job with Wells Fargo. And that happened right after I went to a japa retreat that Archana City had urged me to go to, which was, my first big step. And I remember praying to these little deities, and I was praying to whatever deities I saw, because the first time I was ever seeing deities in person. I was praying to these deities to let us be nearer to the devotees, to let us, serve Krishna more practically, and let us help Prabhupada in the mission, because Prabhupada saved us from hell, actually. So anyway, we were fortunate enough to get in contact with these particular devotees, these little agents of Srila Prabhupada. And I felt very grateful, and we came down here, and I guess the rest is a little bit of history because we didn't end up in Prabhupada Village. Archana was like, well, you'd like Hillsborough there also, your husband can find jobs, and she's giving very practical advice and guiding in that way. So in our early Krishna consciousness, Karnamrita and Archana City were very, 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 very instrumental to our early Krishna consciousness, very instrumental. And even opening their home and letting my whole, family stay there with 2 young children, just really, 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 really kind. Kindness that can never be repaid, actually. So thank you for that, Narchana Mata, who also taught me how to put on my sari for the very first time. And anyway, throughout the years, we kept in a little bit as my service started getting more and more expansive. We kept in touch, mostly myself and Karnam, because he was more easily accessible on social media and like that. And, of course, I followed his whole journey, and he was always in my thoughts and prayers because he did give so much of himself, and he did allow people to love him. And he was extremely just the most caring and funny and fun and just all the adjectives of somebody that just really has Krishna and they're just giving him out to everybody, just total freely giving, freely giving. And then just fast forward to February, this time last year, I was actually somehow or other, by the days of Radhagalokananda, I was able to make it into India right before COVID hit. And it was funny because I was reading about it back in January, but somehow I was still able to get on a plane at the beginning of February and make it into India. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. And Karnam was there and I wanted to visit. And we were trying to work it out, but I was only in Vrindavan for 5 days. So it was, and when you don't, you're just at the whim of whatever the plan is. I can't make plans in India. Who can make plans in India, So I was trying to arrange to go see him and Krishna Nandini in the hospice, and also Anadi Krishnadas, who was there. So I was trying to make it, but they were in a different place than Anadi Krishnadas. So I actually couldn't, I couldn't get to, somehow there was no way to get to both places because we were in Vrindavan one day and we did this whole big parikrama, and then, oh my gosh, you know how a day in Vrindavan is. It's just, I can't even remember everything that happened. It was just so much. But I didn't get to make it in because the very day that he was supposed to be there for me to see him, he was going to go out to Govardhan, where actually I was staying all the time. So somehow we just crossed at that point. And I was so upset. And I even bought things for him that he wanted. And anyway, it didn't work out for whatever reason. I was really sorry about that. It was really the one chance. So anyway, I won't take more time, but I could go on and on about Karnamrita Prabhu. And I'm just praying for Archana, and also want to express gratitude while I'm able to Archana City Mata for everything that she's done and helped with myself and my family, and also assisted Karnamrita in his journey to touch so many souls, which obviously he did. So thank you very much for that. And thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Leela Shakti. Balaram, do you need help? I don't know if he's, oh yeah, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks for letting me be here. So, let me just compose my thoughts for a sec. I was fortunate to come in contact with Karnamrita just through, yeah, it was through some sort of divine arrangement, I suppose. We heard about him through our friends Akendra and Savakunj. They might, I think they're on here. And it was at a time when we were part of I won't go into specific, but we were part of quite a narrow-minded sangha that didn't provide much opportunity for outside association, and then we sort of quickly transitioned from that to sort of opening ourselves up and seeing what other devotees were out there, and we were planning a trip to Vrindavan to visit a particular sadhu there, and then our friends recommended that we go and visit Karnamrita, and we didn't know anything about him at that time. We didn't know who he was. He didn't know who we were, and so we didn't quite know what to expect, I suppose. But we were in Vrindavan, and I sent him a message, and he was like, yeah, come and see us, come and see me. And it was just like 5-10 minutes walk from where we were staying. So it was myself, my wife, and our 2 kids, and our friend Peter. And so we just sort of showed up at his door at MVT. I think it must have been the first time, I guess it was the first treatment, the first time he was in Vrindavan. And yeah, we just showed up at his door, and he immediately greeted us with a big smile and gave me a big hug. And it was, yeah, it's exactly like what a lot of the other devotees have said. You know, it was like meeting an old friend, and it was like, I've never met this devotee before, but it was just, yeah, immediately there was a connection there. And, he brought us in and he sat us down, and yeah, he just, he said some things to me that really, that really struck me. Like he was, I'm trying to remember some of the things he said to us in that first meeting. But I remember one thing in particular he said to us was that, a lot of devotees, they have this idea that if we just chant Hare Krishna, all of our problems will go away. And he was like, no, it was in a kind of this real animated way. And he was like, you've got to work on your own issues. And I can't remember exactly. I think he said something to us about how, it was like every temple should have like a psychiatric ward right next to it, because of there's a lot of devotees out there who are not dealing with their emotional issues. And, he was telling us about his upbringing, and I think he had quite a difficult childhood, and how he learnt to shut down emotionally, and now he was trying to like open it up again. And I had, that was something for me to think about, because I tend to like to bury my emotions and not let anybody see them. And I thought, and after that time, I could sort of see how, I was also like afraid to let emotion come out. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. And then just a couple of other things that he said to us that I really remember. He talked a little bit about his relationship with Tripurari Swami, and it was probably, he was saying how publicly he would sort of downplay that, maybe keep a low profile, but I remember in his room he had this like huge color picture of himself and Achin and Tripurari Maharaj sort of standing and having like a group hug. I think it was on the slideshow, and telling us how, I remember him saying, yeah, I mean, technically we're God brothers, but Tripurari Swami is my Shiksha Guru, and I wouldn't be where I am today without him, and I'm not, not exactly part of the Sri Chaitanya Sangha, but after meeting Karnamrita, I really wanted to find out more about that, and got to listen to a lot of Swami's talks through the kind of the encouragement of Karnamrita, but also in a really non-sectarian way. And he knew that we had other interests as well, and he was so encouraging in that regard. And another thing that he just another point that he made to us was about understanding that different acharyas and different gurus can have different opinions, and that we need to understand this and digest this idea. And and he talked about just some of the little differences between Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and not seeing the difference of opinion as an obstacle, but as like a I'm sure he put it a lot more poetically than that, but just don't be afraid to kind of think outside the box, and don't try to limit Krishna consciousness in that way. And he said so many other things, and I don't want to take too much more time, but yeah, we were able to speak to him, I think, for about 2 hours that day in Vrindavan, and then I think maybe a week later we went back and spoke to him again for like another 2 hours, and it was just like a lifetime of instruction. And we I would say, meeting Karnamrita in Vrindavan, it was one of the many highlights of our trip to Vrindavan. It was exactly what we went there specifically looking for sadhu sangha, and we got it, 100-fold. So and then we were lucky enough, I think, in the last year to speak to Karnamrita a couple of times on Zoom, and he made the time to speak with the devotees here, and it was obvious that it wasn't easy for him. And you see him he was always like rubbing his head like this and rubbing his throat, and and it was, it looked like he was in a lot of pain, but it also, and I felt kind of bad in one sense to be talking to him and taking up his time, and after about an hour or so, I think his throat would be getting sore, and he sort of excused himself. And then I thought, oh, maybe maybe that was too much for him. And then about 5 minutes later, I'd get a message on Messenger saying, how was that? And, was it all right? And, and like, when can we connect again? And, and he was saying how part of his treatment was having a purpose to live, and his purpose was to help devotees and share with devotees, and so I would have liked to have spoken to him one more time, but I could sort of see that he wasn't around so much towards the end, and hardly on Facebook, so I didn't get one more opportunity to speak to him. But I'd like to say thanks to Achin City for sharing her husband with us, because I'm hoping one day we can connect with her as well, because she's now the living representative of Karnamrita. So hopefully when all this COVID mess is over, I would like to have more to do with all of you devotees there. Yeah. You guys are the Karnamrita sort of let me into that world, and he also encouraged me towards talking to Padmanabha Swami as well, and we've had many nice exchanges with Padmanabha Swami, and through Karnamrita's encouragement. So I'd be very, very lucky, and I don't know how I've been so lucky, to be honest. But Karnamrita just had an unlimited compassion there. So that's all I want to say. I'd like to leave it at that, so I don't get the emotions don't come out.
Thank you so much, Balaram. It's very beautiful. Amala Bhakti. I'll help you. Oh, wait.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My first offering is from just a Prabhu in Hillsborough, who's on the road right now with his beautiful wife, Rudrani. So I'm just reading the letter that he sent to all of you. And Archana, of course. Dear Karnamrita Prabhupada, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. It is with sadness that we learned you had left this world after your long battle with cancer. It is sadness for us because we who are still in this world no longer have the association of a Vaishnava such as yourself, who has given so much to the world through your service to Srila Prabhupada for a half century. We will especially miss your prolific writing about your spiritual journey and your sage words about the importance of deep introspection on the path of bhakti. But we are happy to know that you are now free of your mortal coil, which was causing so much difficulty over the past few years. Now you are certainly following our dear Srila Prabhupada in a different setting, free from any suffering. We are certain to have your direct association again someday, and we look forward to that day. Thank you for being a light for this world, and all glories to your future serving Srila Prabhupada, your servants Jista Das and Rajani Didi. And thank you, Jista and Rajani. And I was really stricken by the I guess it was this morning that I found or maybe it was last night, probably time and place and circumstances. I'm a bit confused. But this, the Gmail with the excerpts that were offered to the harmonist and printed out. And straight away, I read them all and they're beautiful. And but I was really stricken by Shamala Dasi's sharing of Karnamrita's words at the last paragraph. It's a short paragraph at the very end. And I think, I'm not going to go into anything, but this whole experience is providing many realizations for me. I'm eternally grateful to see you all and hear from you all. And it's just such a blessed event. And Aradhana, thank you for your work, your seva. What I want to quote is the last paragraph. Some of you might even be holding this in your hand. And the inflection and how it's meant to be read for me is just everything. And I quote, when everything appears to be withdrawn, then surrender to what is really the only option. To choose love over despair, to know that we are meant to be givers and not exploiters of the world or other people. Thanks for writing. And he's speaking to Shamala. Vrindavan, blessings to you and your family. Hare Krishna. And a quotation. Thank you. Thank you all for your many blessings today. And Karnamrita will live in all of our hearts. It's a great joy to me to know and to meet some of you for the first time. and to have known so many of you for a long time, and all that I've learned along my spiritual path, and the Krishna's grace bringing Bhaktiville into our big nest. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amala Bhakti. And do you want to share something, Bhaktiville? Is that what you're?
I only met
Karnamrita
one time, not that long ago. It's been less than 3 years in my short exposure to Krishna consciousness, and I have met some of you devotees. If I can follow his example, with the battle of cancer. If I can follow his example, I will be a much better person. I wished I could have had time to get to know him. Unfortunately, this is all very late in my life, but I just will do the best I can to be like him. My condolences go to Archana and the devotees that he has touched their lives. My obeisances to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate that. Let me see who is next. Actually, Apurva, do you want to go next or do you need a minute? Let me check in with Karnamrita.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know you were going to let me in so soon.
Sorry.
Very kind of you. I'm going to really make it brief because we do. Do you have an extended? How long will this go for?
So there's like 3 more devotees left, and everyone's speaking for like 3 to 5-ish minutes. It's like it's like kind of it's not like again like
3
hard
to
and
5.
fast.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, just 3 or I think there's only 3 more after you.
Okay, good. Let me get my notes real briefly. I am totally blown away by the devotees sharing, and here I was being in a rather puffed up mood, thinking I'm a Prabhupada disciple. How come? I was worried I wouldn't get to say anything, but it's been a long journey with Karnamrita, and I really love him so much, and we've been connected for over 45 or 50 years. I lost track. Originally, we were what you might call Prasadam foodie buddies, and we were also on the sweet roll, and we would exchange in different ways, shapes, and forms from the beginning when I knew him in the 80s as the pujari and cook. He always made great sweet rice in, I guess it's Jagannath Puri Dham, or also known as Berkeley Temple. And then I didn't really go too much past the Anamoya stage, Prasadam, with him until we had the special opportunity to be in the Sangha of, by the mercy of Madan Gopal, my daughter. We surrendered to the opportunity of hearing from their dear Guru Maharaj, Tripurari Swami, and I started to see a few other things going on in his life. He was a most amazing devotee who was, well, I want to say all the offerings have been just really great, but which one it really touched, moved, and inspired me like anything was Badri. I don't know if I can get this right, Badarayani's offering really hit home. And I took my notes, but I don't know where they are. And I just remember what he said about Prabhupada reaching out at the time of his departure and walking with him. And I'm clear that's where he's going. But some of the other points he made were very, very hit home like anything. And so in the brief journey I had with him, after I took him on more as a kind of a Shiksha Guru when he did that program at Ananda Gopal's and his wife's place in Chapel Hill. I started to sit down and hear and realize who this person was and how he could be my mentor in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. So I wanted to also touch on, why am I forgetting his name, but they just went, he spoke so nicely about Karnamrita. Why am I forgetting her? The oldest lady in our Sangha, they just spoke, but her husband really said it so nicely too.
His name is Dr. Bill, and her name is Amala Bhakti.
Yeah. I actually know them very well, but it's senior moments. So he has really impacted my life tremendously and our whole family. And I'm so much looking forward to the opportunity to know him better as we speak. This is actually the best way to know somebody is at the memorial services, because when you see how he impacted people's lives and how he touched them, it's just so wonderful. And my condolences go out to his dear wife and all the devotees who are lamenting his loss, how we never, took full advantage. And it just happened all of a sudden like this. I thought he was still on the fight, and he really put it to the test, and he's amazing soul. What else can I say? I think that's all. Oh, my wife would like to speak too, and only reason she's not here is she's giving a class, but the class should be over any minute. So if if you could save some time just at the end for her, that would make a difference for her. And I think it would also for everyone to hear from her perspective. She's a deep thinker and lover of Karnamrita and has a special contribution to make. Thank you all very much for hearing me out, and please forgive me for any offenses.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much, Apurva. I hope I didn't make you feel rushed. That wasn't my intention at all. If you felt like that in any way, and to
Yeah.
anyone else, that's not my intention. I can definitely leave time for her at the end. Also, Archana, I don't know if you see the messages I'm sending you, but if you could like check them. Mahendrani, I'm sorry, I haven't seen that word, that name before. Are you there?
Oh, one last thing.
Sure.
Can I just ask if you're going to make this available?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going live on Facebook, but I can upload this too onto YouTube if
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Mahendrani?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, do you want to share?
This is me. Yes. My obeisances to all the Vaishnavas who are gathered here, and especially to Archana City. And we've come together to celebrate Karnamrita Prabhu's life. Yet, as I reflected on how precious his association was to me and how much I benefited from it, I realized that it was inseparable from Archana City. They were a team, like Krishna Priya also mentioned. Together, they were a unit of devotional benefit to others. And I have so much to thank them for. So many gems came to me from their association. I'll just say a few of them today. I met around 1988 or 89, I met Karnamrita through Archana City when they got married and came to live near the Baltimore Gurukula. Karnamrita started and led a prayer group which met once a week for years in the basement of their home. They had transformed the basement into a small healing center. I always had an attraction to prayer as a way to connect personally with God and as a service to others. Karnamrita's association strengthened that attraction and solidified my belief in the power of prayer because he had such strong faith in that power. He was also a promoter of a holistic devotional lifestyle where caring for your physical, mental, emotional health is an important part of bhakti. And we've heard lots of people say that, what a balanced devotee he was and how much he encouraged everyone else to be balanced in their devotional life. Together, he and Archana nurtured many devotees, including me, by sharing this perspective and its practical application. When Krishna arranged for the Baltimore Gurukula to close, they supported us through that transition in many wonderful ways. Karnamrita was also a liberal, open-minded, open-hearted essence seeker. Therefore, he could recognize the greatness of His Holiness Srila Tripurari Maharaj and take full advantage of that sadhu sangha. He and Archana City hosted Maharaj at their home in Baltimore one Thanksgiving weekend, and they invited me and another devotee. I had moved from Baltimore and I was living in Alachua, but they invited me and another friend to spend the weekend with them. So we traveled back to Baltimore and did that. As a result of the ecstatic Krishna Katha, Srila Prabhupada answered many questions that I had been burning in my heart. And I was so grateful for that. When some of the other devotees were speaking, a couple other things came to mind. One was when Ashram Maharaj mentioned that the 2 hours he would spend alone in the car with Karnamrita as they traveled to a program and how wonderful that was. And that reminded me of long trips that we took with Karnamrita to various places. The we meaning Archana City, of course, and my daughter and I, and maybe Devahuti. And during those drives were as delightful as or more delightful than the destination we were going to, because there were so many deep and meaningful discussions. And then when Angie mentioned the hugs when she would drop off packages, it reminded me of in our prayer meetings, at the end of the prayer meeting, everyone would hug each other. But me, being the fanatical devotee, wouldn't hug Karnamrita or any men that happened to be there. But in due course of time, his at ease, genuine, authentic self, personality, eroded some of my, or dissolved some of my fanaticism, and I was able to accept and return those healing hugs. So thank you so much, Karnamrita, for nurturing my spiritual life so kindly, so lovingly. Your departure is a great loss to the devotee community. And thank you to all those who've organized this memorial, and lots of comfort to Archana City, to Nitai Guranga and Prema and all others. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So a few more people have asked, well, a few more devotees have asked to speak. So I just wanted to this is kind of going on a little bit longer, which I'm fine with, but I know that not everyone has planned or is able to stay so long. I just want to give everyone the opportunity. If you need to go, like, that's fine. But I do want everyone in Archana everyone to have the space to speak. So yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that. Okay, so Bhakti Rasa, do you want to read Dulal's offering?
Hare Krishna. So my husband wrote this and asked me to offer to Karnam. And just a warning, I was reading just the first line and it was really hard for me to get through it. So we'll see how this goes. I'm probably going to break down quite a few times. So this is a homage to Karnamrita from Dulal Chandra. Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam. Oh, what a greatly fortunate life. What a greatly fortunate life. Attaining at an early age the blessings through association, service, and mantra of the Shaktivesh manifestation of Lord Nityananda, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Karnamrita Prabhu became firmly grounded in a devotional practice which endured throughout his life. I cannot speak of his early years of devotion within the ashrams of his spiritual master, but after some time he became an exemplar of household life, making his house not just a home, but also a gateway into the Vaikuntha atmosphere. Seeking to deepen his spiritual awareness and further plumb the depths of spirituality that Gaudiya Vaishnavism had to offer, his journey led him to hear from another specific sadhu in our line, who captured his intellect and began to nurture his understanding. This sadhu was his godbrother, and hearing from him developed into a deep, friendly relationship that often resulted in many evenings of profound discourse that lasted well into the night. Karnamrita soon began showcasing his new spiritual discovery and introduced Swami B.V. Tripurari into his close circle of friends. Things then started to change, as they often do, when there is a renewed enthusiasm in our spiritual lives, and Karnamrita and family relocated into the rolling hills of North Carolina. Designing a new home around their daily worship of Krishna's deity form, the local deities of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath quickly made arrangements to move in, and soon a temple was established separate from the village temple. Karnamrita became a covert spiritual warrior, at this time seeking to establish a more user-friendly environment for the local devotees and establishing regular outreach for his newly adopted Shiksha Guru, affectionately known as Swami. As an exemplar of spiritual character, he quietly pursued a routine of daily deity worship and chanting a fixed number of names of the Lord. And when the opportunity presented itself, he opened his home to guests, hosting them in complete comfort, both spiritually and materially, as one would a family member. And when Swami would come to town, there was always a flurry of activities as he sponsored daily sanghas for the growing local community of devotees, young and old practitioners, those with a new budding interest and those needing rehabilitation like myself. This gallant spiritual diplomat laid the groundwork for the future Sargrahi, for those wishing to establish community of essence seekers like himself around the association of Swami's wisdom, beauty, and charm of his saintly association. And let us not forget his own outreach based upon his deep desire to help those struggling in this modern age of contrary mental and emotional challenges. An explorer of contemporary psychology and spiritual thought, he incorporated what was helpful and molded it around his firm foundation of genuine spirituality. This outreach was nourished by compassion and empathy with a sprinkling of new age insights, but deeply grounded in Gaudiya Siddhanta. He and his wife became the home team for presenting a truly wholesome approach to the difficulties of modern living and household life by providing guidance and example in how to keep spirituality in the forefront of one's life. His outreach extended into the written word as he openly exposed his personal spiritual journey for others to witness and take lessons from. By wearing his heart on his sleeve, he provided courage and example to others on their spiritual journeys. Dear brother, I fall in obeisance and weep tears of both pain and joy as my wretched heart is illuminated by the sun of your spiritual potential. In service, Dulal Chandra. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for reading that, Bhakti Rasa. That personally means a lot to me.
And it's so amazing. It's like what Dulal wrote is what everybody has been saying. Like everybody gave their own personal testimony to what Dulal had written during the night. So it's so wonderful to be with you all.
Yeah, I totally agree. So next, Jama Dagni, do you wanna share?
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you.
Okay. I just had a quick anecdote. But first I wanted to offer some appreciation of Karnam's books. I think that they're very special. I enjoyed reading his book about blog posts, and I gave his book of poetry to my son. I felt like it was the right book for him. I think if anyone hasn't had a chance to read those books, I recommend them. I think they're very special. And then I just had one quick anecdote, and it may kind of leave you wanting more information. One day I was at the Barn Ashram there at Saragrahi, and I don't remember. I was like cleaning the bathroom or doing something, and my phone started ringing, and it was Swami Tripurari. So I answered the phone, and this is when Karnamrita was in. He had been in India for several months at this point, and Swami said to me that when I answered the phone, he was really excited, and he said that he had just called me because he had gotten this great email or letter or something from Karnamrita, and he was telling me about what Karnam had said to him, and he wanted to tell me about it. And so you'll have to ask Swami what it was that excited him about this letter, but his point to me was that he said, man, he really gets it. And he said that he said, I just want to drop everything and go be with him. is what he said to me. And I just thought people should know that there was that, like, that Karnam had this ability to really inspire, to inspire people and to really get it. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with the wanting more thing that you said.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, but I thought about it, and I thought I might try to grope for what the message was that Karnam had written to Maharaj, but I feel like it's probably better if Maharaj explains it himself.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll ask him about it. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure. Thank you.
Jai.
Jai.
Let's see, Ananda Gopal.
Thank you. Dear Archana City, I can't even begin to express how appreciative I am of your association and Karnamrita's association, and my heart goes out to you. It's been excruciating, I'm sure, going through this process and not knowing when it would come to an end. But the inspiration that Karnamrita has provided to all of us in that preparation for meeting the Lord, for that next step, it can't even be quantified. One of the essays that really stuck out to me that he posted on Facebook, I'm not sure if it was in his book, was about meeting the deer that was dying, I think, and how it spoke to him telepathically. And it blew me away. I was like, what kind of personality can have this experience other than a pure devotee, other than someone who's really given up all of the trappings of the ego and everything? And I can say that, you know, if it was just theoretical, you could doubt that. But when, you know, every single time interacting with Karnamrita, you know, however long that might have been, a few minutes, a few hours, there was always that consistent feeling of surrender. And I think that surrender not only, you know, to Guru, but to the realities of life and the struggles. And the example that he set through his deity worship and the way that he welcomed new devotees, I personally was impacted. And you know, I want to say that I will forever think of him as a unit with you and with Mitra and Mahara, because when I came to Krishna Road Temple, very soon after I started chanting japa, even before meeting Swami Tripurari, it was a whole different world. It was like stepping into some other reality, some spiritual reality, like this is possible. This idea not just of having peace, but also having community. And then when we added the whole feast aspect to things, and I want to of course acknowledge Bhakti Rasa and Dulal Chandra for their home programs in Winston-Salem that facilitated devotees such as myself, and of course Shamlal and Namachintamani, who were encouraging people in Krishna consciousness, and me specifically as well, that led to Krishna Road Temple in Prabhupada Village. I just can't say how unique that was. I mean, that the purity, the potency, that all of the siksha that Karnamrita gathered together for everyone and facilitated and embodied and just gave the inspiration around, it will live with me forever. And in each one of you, I see the grace that Karnamrita was sharing and spreading, because it wasn't his own. It was all of yours together collectively. What you have created in a community, even if it's not physically together as much anymore, has lasted and will continue to last, and it's bared out in all of the testimonies here today, which I will definitely want to go back and watch again. When I was in Vrindavan in 2012 for the first time, and I think it was 2013 when a personality left his body. I'm not remembering his name. I think it was a Sham anyway. But he was from a different line. He was in the Vallabh Sampradaya. And of course, remembering all of the Saragrahi emphasis, that Karnamrita was always about. Basically, that was his thing. Being in Vrindavan, and I felt like I saw these pictures of this sadhu that I never met, and I felt this amazing bliss and this like consciousness of he's leaving his body. And ever since then, I had those kinds of experiences. And I can definitely say that when I heard that Karnamrita Prabhu left, I had the strongest of all of those experiences. And that was just confirmation for me, that he's going where he intended to go, and that the friendly rasic givingness that he had is without a doubt, the thing that matters the most. That living to, yeah, that well, I guess he said giving. Was it giving to live?
Live to live. It's all good.
Living to give, yes. The living to give is so intrinsic to what devotional life is all about. And I never ever once felt like he wanted some kind of reward for it or anything. He truly, purely just wanted to distribute that. And I would say that without knowing it, I think that he's been a major force in that essence for me, that's showing that it's possible to have a grihasta life, especially with all the challenges that brings, that can be an example to everyone else, but also a nourishment, that we all get through it, and it's worth it. Every single step, every challenge is ultimately worth it. But for me to never lose sight of how it's important to go deep. It's important to also have your own experience, and when you're ready to be able to share that experience. And so I just pray, I pray to Karnamrita, I pray to all of the distinguished devotees here, for your blessings, that one day I will be able to have a drop of that to offer to others, because that is what makes the difference in Krishna consciousness, especially in the Western world today. As we know, that it was very dear to Karnamrita's heart, how we can spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world, in the modern world. And Swami Tipurari is such an exemplar of that, and that he brought Swami to North Carolina especially, and impacted me and others. I will forever be indebted to that. And I can't say enough. So I'll just stop there and just say, maybe I can share my other thoughts with you privately sometime when that's a good thing. But we love you, Karnamrita. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you so much, Ananda Gopal. Sundari Leela?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure how to, is it okay if I just do like this, or
Yeah, that's fine.
screen, or what am I supposed to do?
I mean, I can see you and you're talking, and this
Okay.
is, I think it's good. You're good.
Thank you so much for sharing your remembrances of this great soul. Everyone here, I don't know most of you, but I was thrilled to be able to be a part of this ceremonious celebration of Karnamrita's pious and devotional life. And I personally thank Archana Siddhi for the determination of Karnamrita to rise above all obstacles that he faced, which, especially in the physical realm, were numerous. And I always felt about this couple that they were such an exemplary couple. Archana Siddhi's love for Karnamrita seemed to know no bounds. And I feel that I was following many of his postings on Facebook over the past year or so, and I really felt her energy and her support of him coming through his words. And I think that this is a rare, they are a rare couple within our Sangha, showing us how to live a pious and loving life with a partner, which has been way too challenging for me. And I appreciate it when I see it in someone else. And I congratulate Archana for her steadfast love for her husband. And I know he'll always be with you, Archana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sundari Leela. Heather, do you want to share?
It's actually me. It's Karnamrita here. Hare Krishna.
Hey, I didn't know. Sorry.
No, it's good. I just wanted to share some things that everybody's like shared so many sentiments about Karnam. So I just had a couple of things that haven't been said that I also felt. But I met Karnam and Archana like in 2001 or 2002. I was a brahmachari living in Prabhupada village, and they moved from Baltimore, and their house came in as like a modular, and it came in on the back of a truck. It was like 4 pieces. And I was so shocked how fast it went up. And they were always like super nice devotees. And then like, of course, like I always appreciate them for having the spiritual wisdom to see like that Tripurari Swami had something special to offer, and they had the courage to invite him to come to Prabhupada village where it wasn't like popular or mainstream, and I thought that was great. And so that was always a huge benefit for everybody living in North Carolina, especially, you know, like me and everybody else. And anyway, there were a few things that I always thought were charming, because like I used to go over there and they hired me to do a few things, stack some firewood and do a few little things around their house. But I always thought it was charming that Archana City was always quite cold natured, and she would always like have a sweater and be bundled up with a scarf in the house. And Karnam was quite warm natured, so he would always be in like shorts and no shoes and a tank top, but he would always like keep their wood stove rolling, and it was always hot in there. And I always thought that was like charming how he did that for her. And there was a time when Nitai Garunga was still Narayan, and he had built this like addition around the back of their deck. And I remember that Karnam was like explaining to me how you were like watching these videos or something like that, and you were watching these carpentry guys and learning how to do it. And his phrase was like, he thought, I can do this. Like, these guys aren't smarter than me. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting like can-do spirit. And so I always thought that was cool. And Karnam did a lot of counseling for me, like for me personally. And I was, you know, in a previous marriage, and of course Archana and Karnam were a huge help. I mean, but he always had like a lot of good ideas. I always appreciated how he was the kind of guy who seemed like he had done a lot of the personal work on himself, and he dug very deep to get through his issues. And he like several times mentioned to me that like that he wasn't a big fan of like a lot of men have this modern attitude of like being really macho and being really strong, like rogue maverick Marlboro men or something like that. And he really like did a good example, or showed a good example of like that he wasn't that way, and that you could be a man in the modern world. And like you could come in whatever your own shape and size is, and that's cool and that's honorable. And I always appreciated that about him. And so anyway, that's about all I have. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I really appreciate, I definitely noticed this with him too. I really appreciate everyone talking about how like he was very unique and like his expression of like, it's okay to be affectionate. Like it's okay to dive deep into your feelings. Like you don't have to be like this macho person if you don't feel comfortable or just, you know, it's just, it wasn't like, it's just like be who you are and like that's okay. So anyway, I've been appreciating that a lot too, because I feel like that's helped me in my own way. So Bhakti Lata.
Hey, Haribo.
Haribo.
Hi, everybody. I would message Karnam a lot because while he was facing death, so was my husband. And I needed to figure out how to have enough grace like Archana to be willing to just, hey, I mean, like what can we do, right? You're going and that's just how it is. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We're all gonna go. But facing imminent death with your partner, it's very excruciating. And he would send me some really beautiful, uplifting messages. And my favorite memory is surprisingly the last one I have with him. And that's when it kind of seems like when one devotee decides to gather, they all follow. It's what I've kind of noticed here. And Karnam was in a lot of pain, and I have the ability to provide products that will help alleviate pain in a legal sense. And so I reached out and asked him if he needed anything, and he said his pain was just so bad, but that he didn't really want to complain about it. And I tell everybody, I got you, you know. So as I make arrangements with Archana to come visit, I find out Garangi and Paul and everybody was kind of haphazardly meeting there anyway. So it was our first get together since COVID. Really since Guru Maharaj had left the last time. So since the fall of whatever year that was, I don't remember anymore. And I asked him if I could hug him. And even though there's a virus and everything really was wonky and on another foot, he just, come here. And Sumati and Archana, right? Like, oh God, be careful, be careful, be careful. But I just had to hug the man because there have been a few constants in facing my husband's potential death and incredible decline. And that was Karnam and Archana and Guru Maharaj. And my husband went to hug him, and again, right, masks on, you know, we were sanitized, whatever. You know, he was a great support for my husband, and I don't know if he even knew that. Because while my husband's facing his own mortality, again, so was Karnam. And he always just took the time. So, Karnam, thank you for everything. And for being so much to so many people. And for showing us what real surrender and real love actually looks like. And Archana, thank you as well. So, always and forever will I be grateful for Karnamrita and for him never, ever, ever one time giving up on me.
Thank you so much for sharing, Bhakti Lata. It's definitely Bhakti Lata and I got initiated at the same time. And we feel really especially connected to each other. And it's just been really sweet to like see like my relationship with Karnam and then also hers like blossom together. And they both feel a really special connection and attraction for worshiping Nrsingadev. And I think that you worship Karnam's Nrsingadev now.
Yes,
from my understanding.
he's here.
Yeah.
And when the Nrsingadev got here, everything changed. All of a sudden, there was people that wanted to be a donor for my husband. The house that my husband had before our marriage, that literally 5 people went to look at in over a year, all of a sudden sold. And Guru Maharaj said, I want you to first worship the picture of Nrsingadev. And I was like, all right, I can do that. I got pictures so many times from being at Karnam and Archana's house. And Karnam says, no, you're taking him home today. And the hair on every part of me stood straight up as best as it could, like, are you sure? He says, Guru Maharaj said, I'm in charge. So you're good. Let's go. And I literally buckled Nrsingadev in the car. And I actually have, I can't remember his name, Anantashesh that his son made. So I have you on the altar too. So I don't know, just it's like he's always just gonna be here in a way. With Nrsingadev being here.
Thank you so much, Bhakti Lata, for sharing.
Thank you.
So lastly, we have Garangi Priya. Oh, I forgot to let Garangi Priya know. I just realized that. Garangi Priya, if you need a moment, that's okay. I'm so sorry, I forgot to let her know.
Radna.
Kamalini,
I see that she's
right. Kamalini. Actually, right. I wrote Kamalini down. Is that okay, Garangi Priya? Okay, Kamalini, can you go?
Thank you. I was on mute. Jai Hare Krishna. It's so wonderful hearing your personal encounters with Karnamrita Prabhu and how much he has impacted your lives. And he has several wonderful books. And I especially loved Archana City's homage to him. It's hard to even say it without crying, but I wasn't the only one crying. So many of us were. It was so moving. And to think that you could gather your wits to write that at this time, it was really, really impressive. But like everybody said, how much Karnam impacted our lives. And for me, the main thing was his lightheartedness, like so lighthearted, no matter what was going on. And as we've heard, although he was in so much pain and fighting, and even those very austere and arduous undertakings of health regimes, especially in Vrindavan, it seemed like, wow, even worse than the pain was that. And so just the fact that he did it, he fought, and I attended several of his lectures. He gave lectures on dying, on facing death, and that is just so encouraging. And like what a difference it makes when one can be realistic. Nowadays they're like, oh, the doctors are going to find a cure, and just hang in there, and just right up to the last moment denying that death is going to happen. And whereas him, right from the beginning, embracing it and teaching others about it, and teaching others how to be prepared, how not to be afraid, and realize it's going to happen. So he had that little bit of time with us, 5 years actually, not such a little bit of time, but that amount of time to allow us and allow himself to prepare and to give and give even up till the end, always always giving and wanting others to take benefit from any kind of advancement he himself made. But like everyone said, he just was so friendly and warm and made you feel welcomed and extended himself and in such a, it seemed like a seamless way and a natural way. It wasn't like a great austerity for him to do it. Although we know, like sometimes hosting all those gatherings and when Tripurari Swami would come and taking care of everyone and Archana cooking for everyone and him and the Didi worship, like it takes something. It takes a lot of energy and preparation, but just how he would do it so graciously. So, like everyone said, we'll miss him and at the same time feel so relieved that he's relieved of the physical pain that he had to go through. That's a long time, 5 years. It was it was a really hard fight. But and I actually really do appreciate his tenacity for natural healing. Although some people say, why didn't you just get the darn chemotherapy? But usually die from that anyway. But just, his commitment to sticking to that regiment and all the different ones, it was, I'm impressed by it and I appreciate it. So thank you all, and my great condolences to you, Archana. Jai Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Kamalini, for sharing. Okay, Gurangi, are you ready now?
Yes, thank you, Aradhana.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone so much. It's been very healing hearing everybody. So I had asked Aradhana for me to end because I just wanted to read a poem for everybody. But just real briefly before I read that, I wanted to say that of course, everything that everyone said, I resonated so much with me. And just one thing that I wanted to, that came to my mind as I was hearing everybody was the very, how Karnam was so genuine in his care and love for people and extending that. And he always made the time, to connect and ask how I was doing or how my family was doing. And when I was a teenager, I grew up as a devotee. And when I was a teenager, I kind of went on this quest to find devotees who lived with an open heart and were kind, but also showed qualities of bhakti, because so often, or not so often, but I found at times that a lifestyle of sadhana could sometimes make the heart hard. And that was confusing to me and it was difficult for me. And so I kind of went on this like internal quest a little bit to find people that were able to have both. And so Archana and Karnam were for sure able to exemplify both of those spectrums so amazingly. So I really honor that in both of them. And, you know, and Karnam just really lived with an incredibly open heart. And I take his example very wholeheartedly. So also, while hearing everybody speak, I thought of this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. So I'll read this as well. And yeah, this just felt so much our dear Karnamrita, who he is and who he was. So this is one who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So I think Krishna's speaking about Karnamrita in that verse. Okay. I'm terrible at this stuff, sorry.
No, it's okay, Garangi. Take your time. I think you're doing great, and I'm feeling really touched.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to try to get through this poem, but a few of the devotees here nearby me, we got together 3 days after Karnamrita passed away on Friday last week, just to have some kirtan and, you know, support each other and share. So I got this poem in my email, unrelated to Karnam, just about an hour before we were starting. And when I read it, it felt so strongly that it was Karnam speaking to us. So I thought it would be maybe a comfort to some of you as well, okay? All right, it's called I Am Always With You. I am always with you. When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and do. You mustn't tie yourself to me with too many tears, but be thankful we had so many good years. I gave you my love, and you can only guess how much you've given me in happiness. I thank you for the love that you have shown, but now it is time I traveled on alone. So grieve for me a while, if grieve you must. Then let your grief be comforted by trust. That it is only for a while that we must part. So treasure the memories within your heart. I won't be far away, for life goes on. And if you need me, call, and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I will be near. And if you listen with your heart, you'll hear. All my love around you, soft and clear. And then, when you come this way alone, I'll greet you. I'll greet you with a smile and a welcome home.
Thank you so much for sharing that poem. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. So I think that this is the end of the memorial. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone for being here and reading and sharing your hearts. It means a lot to me, and I know that it means a lot to many others too. Yeah.
I just really want to thank Aradhana and Haridas, and I know Pranada had something to do with helping with organizing, but really Aradhana did the lion's share of making this happen, and it was a really wonderful gift to me, Aradhana, so thank you. To see my little daughter grow up, Carmen's very proud of you. So I want to thank everybody for their joining this, and I went way over what we expected it. And, I'm always the timekeeper. I would have been terrible. I would have been like, okay, 3 minutes, that's it. And Radhana was just so gentle and let it flow. And thank you so much. It was the perfect mood. And I love all of you. I hope we can get together in the very near future in person and have a wonderful retreat together.
We love you too, Archana and Karnam.
And little Pranaya, Haribol. So
good to see you, Archana. We really love you and send our heartfelt condolences to you and to your family. And you've been in my thoughts every single day. And I'm so grateful that we were able to join you today. Thank you so much.
Well, and just all of you, and so many beautiful memories and thoughts about Karnamrita, and just very, very, very endearing and healing. And yeah, he's, he is with us. He'll remain with us, and we'll be with him shortly. This is very temporary. Flashing.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Yeah, okay. I think, are we good from here? I think, okay. Alrighty. Madhava, I think I just forgot you too. I'm so sorry. There were so many devotees at the end who were asking, and I think I just got lost with that. And I know what goes to Bihari. I know it sounds like your audio is still a little
It's okay.
some issues.
It's okay. Dandavats to everyone. It's Krishna's mercy that we didn't share, because I don't know that
do you want to share
could
real
have done
quick
a better
before we
job than
go?
everyone. Yeah, but we offer our Dandavats to everyone, and we're so grateful to be a part of the most beautiful ceremony. So beautiful. Hare Krishna. Dandavats everyone.
Haribo. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ghost.
It's very moving. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.